All right, 5th and 6th graders, we're working on lesson 7, what tools the scientists use to observe space. Now this is actually your last science lesson for the school year. And the last 3 weeks, we're going to do a science fair project where you're going to choose your own project. And I sent out a science journal, and it'll walk you through the process. And I'm going to talk to each one of you about what you're going to do, but we'll worry about that next week. All right. So this is the last science, and it's crazy that the time is flying, huh? So you're gonna learn about some different tools scientists use to observe space. The first thing you're gonna look at is actually a picture of a satellite. And so I don't know, maybe you've seen a satellite before, or maybe you've looked up in the sky. I know it's hard to see in San Francisco, but maybe you've looked up in the sky. Maybe you went to camp, summer camp. Maybe you went to Fort Bragg with a school last year, and you looked up in the night sky and you saw a bunch of stars, and then you saw something moving across the sky. And a lot of those things are satellites. And so as you look at the night sky and you look at this picture of a satellite, or maybe you're thinking about other things like telescopes, and write down, think about what you know already about all these things like telescopes and satellites. And as a scientist, what kind of questions can you think of? All right, so write down 1 or 2 questions that you think about as a scientist, and think about all that you know already and all that you've learned. Now, this lesson is different than all of our other lessons. We actually do not have an investigation. So we're going to jump right in. There's a few vocabulary words that we're going to go over, and then you are going to read and look at some different tools. So you have a reflecting telescope, refracting telescope, a radio telescope, a space telescope, a lens, and a telescope. All right. So the first thing, a tool that collects light and focuses it. There are many different types of this tool. Well, you might be able to figure that one out based on the fact that there's different types, and some of those types are listed here. So a tool that's used to collect light and focus it is called a telescope. All right. Now there's a couple different things that, a couple different clues in these different telescopes. Okay, like this one, a clear object that refracts light. If it refracts light, it's an object that's called a lens. Lenses actually bounce light around. If you looked in a telescope or a microscope, there are different lenses. Man, I wish we were in class and I could show you and we could actually look at some different lenses. But they're pieces of glass or plastic or anything like that works as a mirror and focuses light in different ways. All right, and then there's some other clues. We should probably write this in, huh? So this is a telescope. It's hard for me to write this through the phone. A lens. Okay, radio waves. What do you think? A telescope that uses radio waves is imagine that, a radio telescope. All right. A telescope that works in space beyond Earth's atmosphere. Okay, if it works beyond Earth's atmosphere, what do you think? How about a space telescope? All right. Sorry, guys. All right. A telescope that uses lenses to collect and focus light is a reflecting. I should make sure. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I get confused too, you guys. Yes. Oh, I was right. Reflecting. So we're reflecting telescope. I'm just going to reflecting T. It uses lenses to collect and focus the light. Reflects it. And a refracting, it uses a curved mirror. When you refract light, you're basically bouncing it around. And so a refracting telescope is going to collect that light and make it bend in different ways. All right? Okay, so what you're going to do now, you say what you know. Okay, do a little self-check here. But then you're going to talk about tools. They're going to introduce you to some tools and what a lens is. And then you're going to draw a picture about this idea that only a small amount of the star's light reaches Earth. Now, if it was me, make sure you read, okay, guys? Because you also have to answer that question. But maybe I would draw Earth and then a star and label it, because stars don't actually have those little pointed things, right? So I'm going to make my star super shiny, and only some of that light is actually getting to Earth. That makes sense? But you're going to learn about that. All right? And then you have another question. Then you're going to talk about how lenses refract light. Remember, refracting is bending light. And so it talks about how lenses are going to bend light. And then you have a question. You're going to talk about refracting telescopes. Isaac Newton, who built reflecting telescopes, space telescopes, and radio telescopes. All right, so there's 6 sections. I would advise you to do the phenomenon today, and then do three of the sections, and then tomorrow do the second 3 and your check. All right, let me know if you guys have any questions. I will attach another little video to check out some different kinds of space tools.